ただいまより
Welcome to the online briefing session for call for proposal on UNIDO project, industrial cooperation program in the Global South through technology transfer from Japan. Today's agenda are threefold. One, aim of the program and project. Second, the procedure of the UNIDO procurement. Point number 3 is Q&A. We understand that some bidders may not be able to attend today. In order to ensure the fairness among bidders, the entire briefing will be recorded and made available on the UNIDO Tokyo office website in the near future. You may enter your questions in the webinar's Q&A box even during presentation. And please use either English or Japanese in your questions. And please make sure to include your company name and your name with your question. We will not read out the name of the company or the name of the person asking question when answering, but we will not answer anonymous questions. Some of your questions may have answers clearly stated in the call for proposal document or TOR that will be released soon. Please understand that we will give priority to answering questions that are not included in the set document. We will give priority to questions from companies. Please understand that we may not be able to answer questions from UNIDO field officers or foreign governments. Let me explain about your question you may have after this briefing session. Once the UNIDO call for proposal is open, all bidding procedures will be carried out on e-procurement, the online bidding system at the Vienna headquarters. Questions will also be accepted on e-procurement. Registration is required to use the system, and there will be an explanation how to use e-procurement. In e-procurement, you will be able to see all the answers to your questions and those of others. We may not be able to answer some of the questions we received at the presentation due to time constraints. If this is the case, we apologize for the inconvenience, but we would appreciate it if you could ask your questions again via e-procurement.
So from now, for the outline of the procurement project, we are going to have the presentation by head of the ITPO Tokyo UNIDO, Ms. Fumio Adachi. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adachi, and serving as the head of the ITPO Tokyo. And I'd like to share my screen for presentation. So right now, UNIDO, as indicated here, and we are now conducting industrial cooperation program in the Global South and through technology transfer from Japan, or in short, GS program. That's what we are planning to conduct. So we are going to present some of the aim of the programs and some call for proposals for the programs and the prerequisite for you to participate in the call for proposal, so that you can come up with the better proposals for GS programs, so that we can select the best proposal for the implementation. So that the Japanese companies can present. And we are going to conduct call for proposal quite soon. So before the commencement of the call for proposals, I'd like you to understand the outline of the procurement programs, so that we can come up, you can come up with the better proposals. So this is before the call for proposal. I'm not talking about the call for proposal itself. As already explained, by the master of the ceremony, would like to provide the equal footing for the companies participating in this online briefing and for the companies who do not participate. So I'd like to provide some equal basis information. And we are going to entertain some of the questions. And based on the questions, and we may amend the content of the call for proposal later. So please refer to the call for proposal document on the later days for the further more details. So this is today's agenda. First, I'd like to talk about the UNIDO and Tokyo office and its mission and work. Then, I'd like to talk about the program outline and the details of what demonstrations are, global South countries, and scale of demonstrations, and some targeted technical areas of ours. Then, support to be provided by UNIDO and capacity building, feasibility study, and commercialization phase. And some of the targets which should be measurable, and stakeholders and their relations in the global South countries. And the end of the presentations, I'd like to talk about some possible dates for call for proposal. And as for UNIDO and Tokyo office, and I'd like to do some explanation. So this is just, this is not a preface, just a preface to the presentation. I want you to understand what UNIDO and Tokyo office is now trying to achieve. So by understanding what we are trying to achieve, and you can understand what you can achieve in the GS programs. So it's quite important for you to understand the mission of the project and the mission of ITPO, so that you can come up with the proposals which meet our requirement. And UNIDO is one of the specialized agencies, and there are 20 specialized agencies, including ILO, WHO, UNICEF, or the other organizations. UNIDO is one of the specialized agencies of UN. And we are in charge of industrial development. To be more specific, and we are providing inclusive and sustainable industrial development, especially for developing countries. Inclusive and sustainable, there are so many rooms for interpretation, so I'd like to make it clear for you to understand those terminologies better. And you may know quite well SDG number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So SDG number 9 is one of the direct missions of UNIDO. And here are some photographs. So as you can tell, we are providing some of the technical assistance and vocational training for developing countries. And you can see our Secretary General and some of the representatives from the Vienna, the headquarters, and there are some ambassadors. And we are going to have some of the projects, and that's the ceremonies for the people who won the budget for the special programs. And the UNIDO Tokyo office is officially called the Investment and Technology Promotion Office. So literally, and our office is promoting investment and technology promotion. And there are so many divisions, and GS programs is the Tokyo, ITPO Tokyo is the prime party for the commencement of the GS programs. And among UNIDO, ITPO has a unique the presence. And there are some UNIDO 67 offices in the world. and ITPO, and Investment and Technology Promotion Office, are indicated in the yellow colors, mainly in the developed nations, and Tokyo is one of the locations for that ITPO. So Tokyo office is to provide some alliance based on the business relations between Japanese companies and the developing countries. That's what we are supporting. And basically, we are providing the non-profit aid and some of the grant aid for all those companies, and so that we can provide some inclusive and sustainable development through those aids. And for the past decades, and we put the main focus into the African nations. African nations are rather far away from Japan compared to the Asian nations. Many of African nations have yet to have sufficient infrastructure. That's why we put the main focus onto the African countries, so that we can invite some of the Japanese companies to visit African nations to think about some of the projects. So about 50% of our projects are for Africa, and almost 50% for Asia, and the rest is for the rest of the world. And before that, of course, we have engaged in Asian projects, and the Middle Eastern projects were the other areas, and including Latin American countries. So UNIDO itself is providing assistance for the developing countries, and the Tokyo office, in addition to that missions, we are providing some assistance to the Japanese companies so that we can establish some win-win relations between the UNIDO and ITPO Tokyo and the Japanese companies. And I'd like to talk about some of the specific activities. Business seminars, we conducted 39 seminars last year. We had many participants and some of the business meeting, and we invite some of the advisors and high-ranked officials from African nations, and so as to provide some seminars in Japan or one-on-one meetings with the Japanese companies for possible investment. And as we have talked about, we have a focus on African countries for the past few decades, and Ethiopia, the Senegal, and Mozambique. We have some members with the Japanese nationality working in those local offices for the specific assistance programs. And there might be some companies which may have some difficulty to get access to the African nations, and including some of the large companies. And you can visit those advisors in African countries for much easier access to information. Since it is a public organization, and you may have some difficulties, some of the red tapes in the governmental organizations. So we can provide some alliance with those government officials. That's highly appreciated by those companies who wish to do business in the African nations. And what we are trying to provide is for the general relations with the Japanese companies. And in addition to that general relations, we have some business meeting and some one-on-one or individual sessions between a certain Japanese company and African nations for the possible business realization. And what we are trying to do is to provide more concrete business realizations, So, Sustainable Technology Promotion Platform, or STEP, in number 4 on this table. This is a kind of database of the Japanese technologies. We have a registration up to 145 Japanese technologies. And of course, there are so many, millions of technologies and millions of items. And we have carefully selected those technologies which can be easily used by developing nations and which may serve the enhancement of those developing nations for the promotional activities. And we have a special the sections for the STEP corner in our home page of UNIDO Tokyo, the ITPO Tokyo, and the STEP corner. And we have prepared 3 minutes video files. And we have some special seminars, which is to introduce the exclusively for the STEP technologies. And the next year, and there will be Osaka exposition. So, and we are going to have some exhibitions and to set up some special corners to introduce our activities of UNIDO to the rest of the world. So, through those activities, and we have provided some of the alliance between the Japanese companies and African nations. So based on that experience and knowledge, and we are going to promote GS programs for this procurement. And I'd like to talk about the outline of the GS program. We have a huge budget from the Japanese government for the special provisions for this project. And call for proposal will be conducted by the procurement service division of UNIDO. And we are waiting for your proposals, and so that you can come up with the demonstration project in that call for proposal. And we are providing some technical support so that you can implement those demonstration projects. And the immediate outcomes, we expect the generation of the new business and employment. And as for the medium-term targets, and we are looking for innovation and the creation of the industry infrastructure and some of the resilient value chain between Japan and the global South countries. Let me explain one by one.
まず、デモンストレーションとは何か。
And as for the demonstration, I'd like to tell you what demonstrations are. And if you pay your attention to the blue letters, so stage after feasibility studies and before the actual business, there might be so many items which should be verified. Feasibility studies may be conducted in Japan, but some of the development of the commercialization, you may have to go to the local spot to think about specific steps. So I'd like to talk about some of the what demonstrations mean by us. So this means that the confirmation of the effectiveness and the economic feasibility of technologies, and the confirmation of the business models to be using technologies that are the stage of the practical applications. So it may read 1 or 2. It should be read by 1 or 2 or 1 and 2 for the confirmation. And the details of the GS countries, global South countries, they should be UNIDO member states. I think that the 174 are the member states, so most of them should be the member states. That includes Africa, Asia, Caribbean, and Eastern Europe, Latin America, and Middle East, and Oceania nations. But ASEAN nations and Ukraine are excluded. That's based on the ideas of the METI. And we are not in a position. What's going to happen to ASEAN nations and Ukraine? So there are some special provisions and special spending from METI to UNIDO headquarters and to support Ukraine. So we have some other projects other than global South countries programs. While we working with the partnership countries in the surrounding nations. So for that reason, Ukraine is excluded as the GS countries in the Eastern European countries. And the scale of the demonstration is supposed to be a large-scale demonstrations. As you may know, our donor, METI, on April 17th and on, and it is conducted and some solicited some of the small-scale demonstrations. And if you look at the documents, and the demonstration scale is clearly described. So we have to differentiate the scale of the demonstrations between the METI METI projects and the UNIDO projects. So please understand that should be a large-scale demonstration projects. So we have some ceilings and we have to ask for the Japanese companies to provide co-financing. And we do not have any UNIDO the assistance rate, and we are not providing 100% assistance, so that should always need a co-financing. And as for the targeted technical areas of ours, and that's also to be described in the procurement document, and that has the quite wide coverage of the so many areas. And some of the areas may not be fully covered. So first and foremost, that should be the areas required by a global South countries, and that should be based on the knowledge and the experience of a Tokyo office and the UNIDO, and that's the selection criteria of the technical assistance. And as for the Japanese companies, and of course they are the profit organization, so they should have their own the perspectives. But our main goals is to establish a win-win relations between the UNIDO and the Japanese companies. So I'd like you to have some basic perspectives seen from developing nations and the GS countries, so that you can appeal to the assessors of UNIDO for the demonstration projects. And to be more specific, with the demonstration projects in the practical business stage. So what kind of social issues, social problems should be resolved? And in addition to that, whether or not it meets the local governments, the industrial policies, or the local needs of the citizens. That should also be the points for you to bear in your mind when you come up with the call for proposal.
Now, let's talk about countries and regional and technical diversities. UNIDO, with 174 members, be it countries and regions, we want to make sure there shouldn't be any concentration to certain areas or countries. We would like to see the diversification of variety. Inclusive and sustainable industrial development is what we aim for. So we should be inclusive. Various technologies have to be included. That's how we feel. One company making one proposal without the knowledge of other companies' bids. But the areas and countries that the Japanese companies want to get into, there's questionnaires being taken every year. It seems that Asia has the high priority, but areas other than Asia, I would like to see more demonstrations to be realized. What I want to ask you, well, I shouldn't lead anyone to a certain direction in the call for proposal, but this is something I really want to emphasize. Diversification, not concentrating in certain areas. Next, what kind of support can UNIDO provide? UNIDO doesn't only provide financial support. We have 58 years of experience in developing countries, and we have accumulated various know-hows. As I said, for demonstrations, we can provide financial support. It may not be 100% support. However, we provide financial support. In addition, we try to do everything in our power to assist. Large scale, it is large scale, and the Japanese companies are requested to co-finance this project. So should be a well thought out plan. I'm sure you will do this. Well, you have to expect the risks and the responses if the risks takes place. However, something unexpected may happen anytime. If that happens, we are a public international organization. We can work on the host governments. And in the public area, we can provide support to the companies. So please consult with us. We will work with you. As you can see here, UNIDO's Tokyo office sets up demonstration supporting team for each demonstration. So each demonstration project has one supporting team so that we can work with the company's Tokyo office. And it seems that there are projects, if it is given in 3 countries in Africa, we have African partners and colleagues with us, they can cooperate. And UNIDO's field offices in each region, the person in charge of these field offices can join the team and connect with you to implement and support the demonstration project. Number 3 here, quite ambitious. Well, we don't know what kind of proposals are coming in and which proposal we will adopt at this moment, but there are existing UNIDO projects, or the projects that UNIDO want to launch. If there's a synergy with the UNIDO projects with yours, that would be wonderful. For example, as far as I imagine, it so happens that UNIDO in this particular country is conducting vocational training, for example, and then in the demonstration by the Japanese companies, which requires the training of a local human resources, then UNIDO's existing training facilities can be used for that purpose. Or demonstration is done, but after that, in the process commercializing it, or practical application, that host country's policies to promote the business will be needed. If such policy exists, that is beneficial to the natural development of the host country and at the same time beneficial to your project and the commercialization after demonstration. So we can work with you in making policy proposals. That's something UNIDO can help you too. And so you can work and consult with a demonstration supporting team so that we can aim for the best. Next slide, please. Capacity building and training. No sound is coming in. All right. There are resources required for the demonstrations, and I'm sure you will go into capacity building. You have to plan for the capacity building for the demonstration. As you can see, Japanese companies, for the Japanese companies, the human resources have to be developed, but there are related industries in the host country. If you can contribute to the capacity building of the related industries in that host country, that will be welcome. If it is the training capacity building for one particular company, that will not go a long way. For example, this is just a brainstorming thing. For example, giving an endowment course at the universities, or you can ask the specialized facilities for the training of your own personnel. At that time, you can take in the students of the host countries to sit together in the training course. Those are the things that contribute to the capacity building of the host country, and that's quite welcome. Now, feasibility study and commercialization. This is going to be a large-scale demonstration that we are talking about. METI, the donor, made the requests. It doesn't start this time with the feasibility study. It should start with the demonstration. However, having said that, this is such a large-scale demonstrations to be conducted in the developing countries, and then it's only natural to expect the feasibility studies to have been completed. For the demonstration, proposal for the demonstration, at that time, feasibility studies, or even with a different name, but something equivalent to the feasibility studies or preliminary investigation, will have to be completed by the time of the call for proposal. And then feasibility study, after the feasibility study, probably there are certain things to be verified in the host countries. In the commercialization phase, those are the things that you have to study. And based on the result of the feasibility study, the demonstration plans content can be modified. And then demonstration does not stop, is not the end of the story for sustainable growth and development. We are not thinking about the projects which stops at the demonstration. In that particular country, we would like to see your vision towards commercialization in that host country. And for the commercialization as an ultimate goal, you're going to do the demonstration. That's what we want you to do. So depending on the demonstrations, well, as a result of the demonstrations, the commercialization may look differently, but commercialization plan has to be there together with the demonstration. Let me repeat again, from the very beginning, maybe you may say that the commercialization can start 3 months hence. That's the level of maturity that you're thinking of. that's the kind of demonstration we cannot accept. Well, I'm one of the Japanese taxpayers, so we will use the taxpayers' money, Japanese taxpayers' money. Therefore, this shouldn't be the supporting for the business objective.
止まりました。ちょっと止まりました。少し前からもう一度。
The sound has been interrupted, so please repeat again. All right, I will repeat. UNIDO, many member countries, and there's a special contribution from the Japanese government.
すみません、特別拠資金で推進するのは、それは問題がある。
Promote. Well, if it promotes only the Japanese companies, that's a problem. So you want to identify the risks and you want to support mitigation of that risk. Certain things to be demonstrated, that should be clarified in your proposal. Next, please. There are two more things I would like to discuss. As you do the demonstration, there should be results to be measured. There should be measurable targets that you have to set. Naturally, Japanese companies, well, this is a serious business for Japanese companies, so with what do you decide or determine that the demonstration is success, and you have to set the measurable targets to achieve that. Maybe the items to be evaluated have to be established, and our CFP documents clarify more on that. There will be detailed description on that in our CFP documents. We receive special contribution from the Japanese government, so we are held accountable to Japanese government, to Japanese taxpayers, and Tokyo office has to measure the results, the effect of the program. I say measurable here, but it's a quantitative, mostly quantitative metrics that we're talking about, but certain things can be qualitative in nature. And second point here, it's not only for this project, but we are UN agencies. In this project, we want to promote the participation by women in the developing countries, during the capacity building. That should be directed toward women as well, maybe in terms of the percentage of women's participation. And for the Japanese companies, within the Japanese companies participating, how many women are participating, that's another aspect that we feel important. UNIDO headquarters look at our Tokyo office's GS program team, and they are looking how many women are in this team as well. Now, lastly, stakeholders in the developing countries. There are stakeholders. We have to identify the stakeholders in the host countries at the time of the feasibility study. Who are the stakeholders? You have to be clear on that. Who are the local partners? Government, local government. And this is a UNIDO project, and UNIDO field offices are a part of the stakeholders as well. Earlier, I showed you a map of more than 60 countries where UNIDO's field offices exist, and there are 3 African countries that we have officers, but they are not only in charge of those 3 countries only, but also the peripheral countries as well in Africa. So which are the UNIDO field offices are involved? You have to identify that. embassies and government organizations, business organizations, trade organizations in the host countries, universities, research organizations, financial institutions, community groups, civil organizations, and African Development Bank and other aid agencies are all stakeholders to mitigate risks, to bring about better results. You have to analyze stakeholders from the very beginning. At this stage as well, you have to work on the stakeholders as well. Government and local government authorization acknowledgement, you can see on the screen, but UNIDO, consisting of member countries, in implementing projects before the business starts. UNIDO officers and the host country's government should exchange the formal letters, official letters. Exchange of letters, sometimes they get stalled and that goes smoothly. So what I would like you to do is that before we start this whole process, if you can. Sorry, the interpreter is not getting any sound. I will repeat again, the speaker says. UNIDO, in exchange of official letters with the host countries, in order to facilitate this, I would like you to be connected with the local governments. UNIDO, before the project starts, in case of Ukraine, project in Ukraine, before the project starts, the letter, official letter is exchanged with the Ukrainian government, but this is a call for proposal. So which Global South countries will be the host of the project? We don't know. It's not determined yet. So after we receive the proposal from you, when the project is determined, as soon as possible, we will exchange letters from that particular host country. So UNIDO and Japanese companies, if the contract is completed, even after that, if the letter, official letter from between UNIDO and the host country is not completed, the project cannot progress. Finally, dates of call for proposal. First call for proposal, the dates, I can only say soon. After my presentation, Mr. Isoyama of the procurement of the headquarters, UNIDO headquarters, will give the explanation on the procurement, online procurement. Please monitor the e-procurement, the online platform for the date of the call for proposals because it is uncertain at this moment about the date. To be sure, we will do the second round of CFP during fall-winter time frame. For UNIDO, the host country is not determined yet now, and we receive the proposal, we select the proposal, and only after that we can determine this project. And this is almost the first time for us, the case like this. So the CFP documents have to be compiled, and we need to get the approval of the related parties. So we are going through a very difficult process. So we want to concentrate call for proposal by the fall-winter this year, but I would like the Japanese companies to promote the demonstration and the Global South countries to accept such demonstration. So even before the fall, as soon as possible, I'd say, we would like to see the call for proposal open. So at this moment, I can only say soon. Whether there will be a third round or not, we don't know at all. We have to look at the results of the second CFP. We cannot see beyond the second CFP. Now, when the CFP is open, the duration of CFP, up until the end. Well, we haven't opened the CFP yet, so it's difficult to say, but it is not that this particular call for proposal has longer life, so it should comply with the normal UNIDO's procurement period. You have to set up the many indicators in English, and you have to submit many documents. Some of you may want the deadline to be extended, but unfortunately, we cannot accept or accommodate such requests. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the my interruption of the sound. Finally, I have explained many things, and I'm sure you have many questions. And please do so today. And after this briefing session is over, UNIDO Tokyo office mail address is listed on the homepage or website, and if you know my mail address, you may want to send, but we cannot answer to all those individual inquiries. Even if I receive the email, I'm not in a position to return the answer. All the inquiries have to be made after the CFP is open. You have to resort to the UNIDO e-procurement platform. Thank you very much for your attention.